Anakin Skywalker will always have an extremely special place in my heart because he's sort of the epitome of good driven to madness and bad. I mean, this is a guy who's a family man. This is a guy who's young and handsome and has everything. And some really stupid decisions and the fact that he allows himself to be seduced by darkness lead him down a path that he eventually feels he can't escape from. You know, I love how he doesn't know, that his children are alive and ultimately that his son loves him. He's, I guess, fallen from grace, and he doesn't realize that he's still very, very redeemable. And furthermore, he doesn't realize that the prophecy regarding his life still holds true. He does stop the Empire. He does become what he's meant to be. His son makes a better decision. And it's interesting to me that this scene is very similar to the scene with Shmi. Here we have Luke holding Anakin in the same way that Anakin held his mother. And they even say similar lines at one point. It's interesting because Shmi's death was really the biggest kickstart of evil for Anakin, and yet Anakin's death is the start of new life for Luke. He doesn't have to be his father, he knows who he is.
So complex. I mean, seriously, he's just filled with enormous amounts of intricacy and things that make you want to go jump up and read a bunch of psychology and philosophy and just really want to make you figure out how this guy works, because he's sort of one of those sympathetic killers. Can I say that about Norman Bates? He's not just evil; it's something's really wrong, Anthony Perkins is just amazingly attractive, and he even looks a little like the real life Ted Bundy, which I think really confirms that people who are evil are not necessarily ugly. I don't think many people know this either, but he was actually fashioned after a real life killer named Ed Gein. But Tony, he's just gorgeous. I mean, how could you possibly not trust a face like Tony Perkins? When I look at him, I actually think of Zachary Quinto, who I'll talk more about in a minute. He's very non-threatening, but something about his dark, handsome, I don't know, says that at any minute he could become very threatening, and there's nothing that would key you off to that. You'd really have no warning. I'd be dead. I have to just say that right now. I'd be so dead.
There's a lot of different stories about how this guy came around. If you're Christopher Nolan, then he doesn't seem to have a past, a present, and his future is whatever the heck he wants it to be. If you're Tim Burton, then he was once a mobster who was baptized in toxic waste, which turned an already bizarre mind into a psychopath. And if you're Andrew DeVere and Scott McClure, well, then you're just awesome. But this guy is sort of present in my life because growing up, I absolutely loved Batman, the old show, the newer Tim Burton movies, and the cartoon series. What's interesting is that as a child, my husband was always the Joker. Even now, his friends associate him with the Joker because he has this crazy smile that can look very sinister and Joker-like, and because he had a fascination with him. While I didn't have as much of a fascination with the Joker, I was almost always Harley Quinn in games we played and in stories. So that bit is interesting. The thing about the Joker is that, especially in the newer storylines, Christopher Nolan's, I think we're all attracted to him because he is completely without conscience. And as people, I think we marvel at other people like that because who wouldn't feel something doing the things that he does? It makes us start to wonder all kinds of things. What happened to this guy? What kind of childhood did he have? Did he actually experience something bad, or did he just totally do this to himself? This guy is honestly iconic because of Anthony Hopkins, who is one of the world's best actors, and it'll be a tragic, tragic day when we lose him. Even though I've never actually seen Silence of the Lambs, I did see Red Dragon. Hannibal Lecter stands out as someone who first comes to mind when we think of villains, isn't he? He appears in something like 3 or 4 films. I guess now it's 4 because technically Manhunt was Red Dragon, which was, of course, later on remade. I don't think about this young guy who portrayed him in Hannibal Rising, but my goodness, he has gorgeous eyes that look like they could very easily turn into Anthony Hopkins' eyes later on in life. From everything that I've ever heard, he did quite an amazing job portraying a young Hannibal, and the brief scenes that I've watched in the film would definitely confirm that. So, look, I'm a big old fan of Jim Henson and all of those guys. Really, the first time I was ever made truly aware of who David Bowie was in this movie. He's a very interesting character. He's the kind of character that sort of raises questions. He's apparently not human, so is he just in this form because he wants to appear human? He laughs a lot of things off and yet still maintains such power over everyone, and this makes him likable, you know? And something that a lot of people forget about his character while watching the movie is that he's actually in love with Jennifer Connelly's character, which makes this whole scenario very intriguing. She is his one true weakness, and he will stop at nothing to get her there and keep her there. He displays this at the end with that line, you know, fear me, love me, and I will be your slave. And honestly, you can't get much more bow chicka wow wow without starting to put adult things in there.